All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wednesday night watercolor. Whoop, wrong one. I'm sorry. Welcome to the Wednesday night watercolor painting here at the studio. It's me, Michael, here with you. And this is the picture I have chosen to paint today. It is, of course, a Pellican, and I'm going to put the picture up in the corner. You saw that flash up there just a second ago. I'm going to get to that, but before I do that, I want to tell you what I am doing. Hey, Aileen, thank you. I had a nice day. Very busy, but I had a nice day. I hope you had a great day, too. Paper, that's what I'm going to say. Today I am still using some of my 140-pound windmill watercolor paper. Hey, fun stuff. Thank you for joining. Oh, and fun stuff. Thank you for the coffee. It came in very handy. You can't tell you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it a great deal. 140 pound. This is my windmill paper from Strathmore. I'm going to be using this. This is the one I had in a big sheet, and I cut down to 9 by 12. I'm going to start by using, I pulled these out last week and started using these again. And I think these are really nice. This one, maybe not so much. Oh, what happened here? Let's get you back in focus. Sometimes if it's all white, it does that. These are my Art Secret Quill Mop watercolor brushes. I think I've told you all before, this big one here, I don't care so much for. But these three I think are very nice, especially these smaller two. I'm going to be using those. And when I need to be doing any detailed work, I'm going to get rid of the larger brushes from over there, and I'm going to be using my silver black velvet brushes. Here they are. I'm going to set those off to the side. I'm still using my normal M-gram watercolor paints in my studio palette that I've been using for, quite a while now. I've got a few of them that I need to kind of fill up a little bit more, running out of some colors, but I think we'll be okay with that tonight. Let's see, there are my colors right there. I don't have the scroll that would run through the screen right here. I had to redo my computer. So when I use those colors, or use any colors, I'm going to be reading them off the card. I'll put this just up off screen. Ooh, you almost painted a similar bird. A pelican also? Fun stuff? Or just a similar shorebird? Because we have pelicans all over here. I love them. They're just huge, prehistoric looking, crazy birds. They're giant. But they're so interesting. They have a lot of interest to them. This is the white one. That we get not so much here. We get brown ones down from Alaska, and we get the common gray ones. The white one's a little bit different for us around here, but fantastic. I love these. I'm going to set this off to the side, and I'm going to put right here the picture. There it is. So you can see that. I think that will be better than me trying to move this all around wherever it needs to go for you to see it. You don't know what species, which is a big cool bird with wings on Pixabay. Pixabay has some great pictures out there. They really do. Okay, I don't know exactly where I'm going to jump in with this one. I'm just going to kind of jump in with this. I'm going to start with a little bit of my Azo orange. I'm going to mix up a really light wash of this, and I'm going to mix into that just a little bit of burnt umber. I don't want it to be really bright and a really soupy mixture here, but those two colors, and I will pull this picture out when we need to see it, but all of these warm colors down through here, it's really orange up in here. It turns a little brown and gray down here. So this is what I'm going to start with, are some of these colors here. And I know I probably should start with the background and paint that behind the bird, and I probably should start in the upper left hand corner and work to the bottom right. But unfortunately, that is not the way I usually end up painting. And so I just usually grab whatever I think needs to be done first and I go with it. I should say I have a slightly different computer setup here today, and I am hoping it's going to work a bit better for us. So I'm looking at the YouTube strength of stream, the stream health, and it looks like it's all the way in the green right now. So I'm hopeful that it's going to stay there. Everybody, keep your fingers. Oh, I can't cross these ones, but keep your fingers crossed that we stay online and in good shape all night tonight. There we go, and I'm going to mix up a little bit more of this. I'm going to keep going with this. I've got some really, really light parts of that down here, and it's got quite a bit of this on his head. Okay. Stream just came back. I hope everybody is still there. I don't know what happened. I just saw something flash on my monitor, and I was looking down. I saw something flash. I looked up, and everything looked like it was dead. It's back now. Boy, I'm not going to say anything else about it because I don't want anything else to happen. Okay, I am going to say something else about it. There seriously have got to be some gremlins out here in the studio. Really gunning for me, I think. So frustrating. But we're going to forge ahead. I'm going to forge ahead. Hopefully it doesn't continue to happen. Now on this bird's back, as I look at this, there's a lot of different colors here. Puffy Joe said it went on and off 4 times. 4 times is a lot more than I would than it looked like it went here. To me, it looked like it was pretty good that whole time, and then all of a sudden nothing. So I'm going to paint this on with the side of my brush. You can see me doing this, and I'm hoping that when I look up, the stream will still be going, but I'm hoping to get a little broken edges in here. I think that's going to work for me. I don't want it all completely one color back here, and we're going to come back in with a couple of other colors here anyways. And let's see, I've got a little bit up here. You can see when I drew this, I didn't draw this with a lot of detail. I'm hoping to be a little bit more loose in my painting. All the paintings I've been doing, pretty much everything has been drawn out. And all I have to do is paint in a few areas, and we're all good. But I have done a few. If you look at my Instagram, I've done a couple of hands where I've just basically had the outline of the, let's see, I think I had a peace sign, where I just had the outside of the hands, and so I had to do everything else, all the lines and everything. I think I did a fist. Again, I had, I didn't know, I didn't draw in where I should have a shadow line or anything like that. I didn't draw in where the wrinkles in your knuckle would be. And I think it turned out okay, but it was a bit different doing for me. And I said before on here, I kind of know where and who I am as an artist, but I still do kind of want to try to stretch a little bit. So I'm going to continue to try to do some of that. Patty Joe is working on hummingbirds. I love hummingbirds. I've got a giant, I believe it's a Tasmanian eucalyptus tree that covers a large part of my driveway, and it's got on it these big red blooms. And in this time of year, in the early spring and in this time of year, for some reason not so much during the heat of the summer. I think they just die off a little bit. Boy, we get a gazillion hummingbirds. They're flying around on that tree and just alighting and sucking up all the nectar. I bet if I were to sit on the front porch on a Saturday morning, I bet it would be 60 or 70 or 80 every 10 minutes that fly by my head. Did you end up doing some plein air paintings like I mentioned last week? Good question. I have not done my plein air painting yet. This is my busiest time of the year at work, at my day job. And so I have been spending an inordinate number of hours there, more than I wanted to. In fact, I worked 11 hours today in order to get things done. I work at a university, and school starts tomorrow. So there's a lot to do to get things done. But I have plans to take a number of Fridays off to go and do my plein air painting. In fact, I last night I started charging all of the batteries in all of the cameras that I have, so I can take them with me. I tried to find a stand for my phone so that maybe I could do a bit of a live stream while I'm out there. I forgot to mention this is a mixture of Azo Orange and Pyrrol Red. A little less Pyrrol Red here, straight Azo Orange, and the top of this is basically straight Pyrrol Red. I'm going to come back over top of that and orange that up a little bit. In fact, I could take a little bit of this off right now. Be a little bit of a highlight there. And that's going to get a bit darker there too, so I'm not too worried about that. And I can take a lot of this Azo Orange and go right around this guy's eye here. And I'm jumping around a little bit. I don't want to do too much in one spot. I can do a bit more in one spot if I want to. But I'm going to jump around and paint where I see what I want, and from here to there and there to here. And there's going to be enough layers on here, I think, that I'm going to touch all these spots several times. Not Patty, Puffy Joe. Did I call you Patty? I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I called you Patty. I totally didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I'm going to look here. You know what I want to do? I'm going to do a little bit of the wings here. I'm going to go with a really light, and I know I'm going to be putting another layer on here, but I'm going to start blocking these in. I'm going to start doing these feathers here, right? These big long feathers on this side and the ones on this side. I'm going to just start blocking those in. And yes, I know you can see my drawing here. I started too low when I started it, and my wing kind of ran off the page. That's on me. I should have just started over, but I couldn't. I couldn't do it. We're just trying to block in these wings, and I think if I get them close, that's fine. I don't know that there's a right and a wrong way to do this. Like I said, I want to get this in so that when I come back in to do some more of the detail and darken up the inside of the wing, I already know where these are at. I didn't draw this wing very well down here. That's kind of a goofy one. And these all kind of come over in a line up to, let's say right over to about there. And straight down. It's your painting. You can jump if you want to. Oh, I can jump around if I want to. It's my painting. I thought for a minute there, Puffy Joe, I had said something about a song, and you were making a pun on it's your party and you can cry if you want to. I don't know what I was thinking. It's my painting. I can jump around. Well, I'm gonna take advantage of jumping around a little bit here. And I don't need to, I've got basically a straight line, or almost a straight line drawn here where these feathers are. But I think if I don't paint in a straight line, I think I'm going to be better off. Nothing close to a straight line. And then before I get too far into this, let me do this. Before I get too far into this, I'm going to soften this top edge here. I can always come back in and put this in if I need to, but I don't want a hard edge here. Okay, just like, no, you just turned it into, you've been into this Kiss and Coldplay today. That's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily have thought those two go together, but I suppose they're not too dissimilar. Okay, there we go. There's one wing of this guy kind of underneath, and it does look a little funny right now because this is so dark in comparison to this part of the wing, but if you look at our reference photo, we're going to darken that up there almost as dark as the wings are going to be, but I want to get the base color in so when we draw in a couple of lines for the rest of the wings down here, we'll already have that base. I'm going to do the same thing over here, and then I'm going to try not to be afraid to go a little dark, and I think I'm going to warm this just a little bit with just a touch of sepia. And now I have to look to decide where I need to go with these. Just get some big flight feathers in here. A couple of them. And this goes, let's see, I don't know, this goes, I'm looking at the picture down here. So I've got about to here, and I've got a black spot that comes up and down. It's got a little patch of white somewhere in there. Thankfully, not all birds look the same. So if I didn't get it exactly right, it's still right. Let me go back this way. And again, I've drawn it in with a rough line there. I could even make it a bit rougher than it is, and it probably will help a bit. And I've got to look to see how far these feathers go up. Somewhere in that region. Well, they go up a little further than that. Maybe if I held the paper the right way around, it would help. And down, something like that. I think I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to soften this edge just a little bit also. Not too many questions tonight, so if you're watching, feel free to ask any questions that you have. I will try my best to answer them for you. If it's a question about a product that I've used, I'll tell you what, how, and why I do or don't use it. If it's a question about me, I'll probably make something up and answer your... No, I'll still answer your question as best I can. I'm going to take a little bit of this Payne's Gray, and I'm going to mix this with a little bit of... Actually, you know what? I'm going to take a... I'm not going to use either of these. I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to use a little bit of burnt umber here. I'm going to mix that on the side, and I'm going to mix that with just a touch of ultramarine, and that's going to make a more lively gray for us. And I'm going to begin to, I don't think this is too dark, but I'm going to begin to define this shadow underneath his wing. I want that to stand out for me just a little bit. There we go. Now the interesting thing about this gray as opposed to this gray, right? This gray is Payne's Gray that I just took right out of the tube. Here it is. It's going to end dry somewhere on this range, but Payne's Gray always dries a lot lighter than it looks when you first put it on. This gray that we just mixed up with our ultramarine and burnt umber makes a lovely, it can make a cool gray or a warm gray depending on how much of which of those two colors you put in. But this gray will not lighten nearly as much as this gray when you or when it dries. So that's one thing to look for there. I think what I'm going to do is take this mixture and dilute it down even a little bit more. I'm going to make it a little bit on the blue side. And I know this guy has got a couple of lines and shadows on his back, and since I'm kind of in this area, I want to put a few of these on here, but I don't want to fill in this area yet. I don't want to fill in that hard edge quite yet. And I want to pull some of this up. I still want to leave a few of these white spots here. So I need a little bit more. It comes up on his back over here, and it looks a bit ragged right now. I will admit to that, but it will get better, I promise you. Let's see, this guy's got some color on the back of his head too. Could put some of that on. I'm going to take just... There we go. I think that's a better start. Made a cool looking bluish gray on accident recently. Van Dyke brown, bright clear violet, and peacock blue. Peacock blue. I'm trying to think. What colors? Okay, that was my question. Mijello. I don't know how you say that. I never knew how to say that. Mission Gold. All Mission Gold. That's cool. The blue and the brown would make a neutral gray, and the violet you could use to give it a really a reddish, warmish reddish tint on there. That really could be kind of a cool color. I'm just dropping in a little bit more blue in here. I don't want it everywhere. I just thought I needed a couple of spots. Okay, I'm gonna come in, and I can't do anything here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put something on the back of this head. I don't want that big brush anymore, or at least for the time being. Let's see. I'm gonna mix up a little bit more of this blue. I'm gonna mix up a little bit more of this gray. There we go. He's got this big spot on the back of his head here that kind of showcases his eye, and right on around, something like that. If it's not exactly right, I'm kind of okay with it. Maybe get him a few dots out here. I think I might have to go over that orange there. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. Let's get some more of this. It's not orange, it's azo orange. Just a dab of, oh man, you get a little bit, you got a lot. A little bit of my azo red. I'm sorry, not azo red. What am I saying? My pyrrole red. Mugello. Mugello. That's how you say it. Like, yo, that's Mugello. Like when somebody tries to take your Jello. You know, kind of the funny thing is I've had one of their palettes for years. And I never knew how to use it. Okay, I'm curious about those black mop brushes you bought in a set. The Dana ones. Did they hold up or did they fall apart? These ones? These were sold as Dana ones, but they came as Art Secret. Your guess is as good as mine why that did, other than they're obviously owned by the same company. Got a little bit much in there. I want to lighten his eye up on the top there just a little bit. I think that's going to be a bit better. These, well, the story for me behind these mop brushes, I'll take a second. Let me use the big one here. I bought these along with these, And these are pure squirrel, and these are a squirrel mix of something else. I got them from Amazon, and I like the feel of them is nice. The shape of them is nice. The shape of this biggest one is a bit odd. It's a bit stunted for my appearance, my visual appearance. I love the color of them. I love the copper banding on here. This one I don't ever use, but these three, in particular, the smallest two, I used quite a bit when I first got them. And then for whatever reason, well, I can probably tell you the reason, which is my biggest problem with these brushes, is that you can probably hear the handles are plastic and they're super light, which is good in one sense, but they just have a weird feel in your hand. It's not the same as these ones, which are made by Dana, apparently the same company. And so I started using these quite a bit. And then, of course, everybody knows I've had my Da Vinci ones here for quite a long time, which I very much like. But these ones have wooden handles. But for whatever reason, I saw these in my tray over there last week, and I pulled them out, and I went, I'm just going to give them a shot and see how they are. And they're fantastic for what you get. And I'll show you. This one I just wetted. And look, it comes to a super sharp point. It will always come to a super sharp point for a mop brush. They're pretty springy, right? If you press it down and bring it back, it's gonna bounce back to that sharp point, unlike the squirrel ones where you press them down like this and they stay bent over. So if you're doing some kind of detailed work, you can get away with that with these, because you can just touch the side, the tip of it, and you know it's going to hold its point, and that tip isn't going to bend and move around. So I picked these up again, and I've been pleasantly re-surprised by these. I kept them on my painting table here, and I'm going to keep using them probably totally until the label that was printed on wears off. It started off looking like this. Now it's already down to almost nothing. But honestly, it's a pretty good brush, especially for, I think this set was $40, $41, something like that. Not a large outlay of cash. I think that's a pretty good brush for that. Now, what was I going to do? I don't know what I was going to do. I'm going to strengthen my orange color down here a little bit. It's got this beautiful orange down here. Anyways, thank you for the question. That was a great question. I probably lost a few hairs off of these when I first got them, like any other brush. And I would tell you if I could remember having lost a great number of hairs out of here, but I don't. I don't remember having lost, very many at all. So, like I said, I've been pleasantly re-surprised. They're $35 on Canadian on AliExpress. A lot of people use AliExpress. I've never used it. I do. I think I'm pretty sure I do. Anybody who wants to get a direct link to these, I have these listed on my website. under products that I use. I'm like 99% certain they're there, but it links you to Amazon, of course, Amazon USA, and I think the last time I looked, I think they were $40.99. I don't know what that turns into in Canadian. I have no idea what the exchange rate is at this point. I used to have a good handle on it, or a better handle on it anyways, when I lived back east. But now, let's just say, not so much. Okay, so I'm just dropping in. We can see, if you look at the image of this bird, you can see he's got some feathering down here. So I'm going to just drop a few dots and marks and lines in here. That's probably really more than I wanted, but maybe we'll get a few that will run a little bit. I'm going to drop a little bit of the straight azo orange in here and see if we can't continue with a little bit of that modeling color. I don't want to be bogged down with painting, all the feathers that are on there. There's some really fine, detailed feathers on this bird's chest, stomach area. I don't want to be bothered with all of that. I just want to get some of these up there. And I want to take this color all the way into that shadow line. I don't want there to be any kind of a difference there. I don't want there to be any kind of a gap there. So I'm going to take that all the way up. And now I'm going to do a bit of his neck. I've got to flip this over a little bit. Let's see. Lauren Blakemore. Hi, Lauren. Lauren says, have I ever tried digital art? The answer to that question is yes, I've tried it, and I absolutely hated it. I hate to say that. I used to take the bus to work every day. I no longer take the bus to work every day. But while I was on the bus, I had an iPad that I would use, and I would try to draw different things on the iPad, and in hopes of coming out with something that looks really nice and is cool. You see videos of people making these cool digital things, and what I learned after trying for, I don't know, 6 months or so of drawing on the bus, I learned that I am an analog person. I'm not the most digital person in the world. So a digital medium really wasn't going to work for me. And that's, take that for good or for bad. I gave it a shot. It just wasn't what I wanted. So I kind of gave it. I guess it's not really fair to say I absolutely hated it. I wanted to feel what I was working on in my hand. I didn't want to just only be able to see it. I wanted to know that I was working on a thing. This is a thing. It's here, right? I know what it is. Everybody can see it. And the digitalness of working on the iPad just was never going to cut it for me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't take it. Puffy says a ton of money because the exchange rate and the shipping and the import fee. Oh, I never thought of import fees. I was only thinking exchange rate, but holy cow. They're really tacking stuff on there. Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, really wants to get his money for, maybe not necessarily for him, but for Canada. It is Justin Trudeau, right? Yeah, I think. Let's see. Every time I buy new brushes, I end up going back to my old ones. One day I'll find the perfect brush. Oh. Well, honestly, fun stuff. I'm with you. I still have most of the first brushes that I ever used, that I ever have used, however I am supposed to say that. And I go back to them every now and again, which is how I got back to these, right? This is what, well, obviously it wasn't the first brush I ever had, but I do that. I think lots of people do. We just cycle back. Oh, I had this, and this new one works, you know, a slightly different way. How does that relate to my old brushes? Let me see how the old brushes work. And then you pull out the old brushes and you go, wow, well, these were great. Why did I ever change to go to these other new ones? I don't know. I think there's a lot of that. I know there's a lot of that for me. So if there's that for me, I would imagine that happens with a lot of people. I'm just trying to get a little texture, a little shading, a little life into his throat here while I'm rambling on here. And I think that's about what I'm going to do. His father was good, but him, holy cow, and I was the stupid one to vote for him. Oh, no. Well, you know what? You know, you never know what you're going to get. Elections are weird, right? People campaign on not what they want to do or what they're going to do or what they think they ought to do, but they campaign on what they think people want to hear, I think, and that's a horrible thing to do, because then once you get elected, you do something different and everybody's upset about it because you're not holding true to your campaign promises and whatever. I don't know anything about his politics. I don't want to get into politics. Painting show, not politics show. I just, for some reason, it struck me that that was the prime minister, so I thought I'd throw that out there. Aileen says, I know that Phil's still searching for a new brush, I'm assuming, and using old reliables. Nothing wrong with using old reliable brushes. I'm going to flip this guy over a little bit. I got to get really, let's see, I got to get really tight in here so I can get a fine edge. I know it's funny, some brushes, since we're talking about brushes, I just flipped this page over so I could paint with the straight edge on this side of my brush. And normally I do it the other way around. Does anybody else have a brush where they do that with? Every now and again I find myself doing that, but it's only with very specific brushes that I will paint the opposite with. And I don't know why it is that I do that. It's the strangest thing to me. I need to get a little bit darker color in his beak here. There's a little shadow line in there. I guess what I should have done was maybe pulled out a rigger brush and done that. Or, oh, you know what I can do? Give me 1 second. Haha! Now, I tried this last week and it didn't work, but it's gonna work this time. I'm just gonna give this a quick sharpen here. Let's see. Do I consider digital art the same as traditional art? I don't have any problem with digital art. Some digital art is absolutely fantastic. Is it exactly the same to me? No. But do you need to know, do you have to have a lot of the same skills to be able to excel at one over the other? Yeah, I think you do. I think a lot of it is just where you want to put your energies. If you are and want to be more of a digital person, I think you're going to put more of your efforts probably into that little bit of digital art that you do, or maybe not a little bit. That maybe it's not a fair thing to say. But for me, it just seems that digital art is it's so ethereal. It's just not there. You don't have that art piece. Now, I know you could print it out and you could, reproduce it and have it professionally done, and it would look like a regular art piece. But somehow it's not quite the same to me. This piece of art is developed as a thing. There's only one of them. I hope there's only one of them. You can't easily reproduce it. There's no digital file. I don't know. It's just a little different. I think I'm just rambling again about it. I don't have a problem with it. I think it takes a great amount of talent to do digital art. I still think you have to have an artist's eye to be able to do digital art. But to me, I still prefer the more traditional artwork just because as a personal thing, it means a little bit more. It has a little more, and substance isn't even the right word, but it has a little bit more staying, a little bit more, I don't know, something to it. To me, it's kind of like it's not the person, it's the program. Yeah, I can totally see that. I need to get my glasses. Working in a tight spot here. Okay, I can totally see that. It's. I don't know. It's just different. I don't want to say. It's not good or it's not whatever. It's all good. It's all talent. It's just different talent than I want to use or have chosen to use. I'm going to, let's see, I need to, now that I got this out, I'm going to use this as kind of a little bit of a cheat here to darken a few lines. And up here, I need to, that's going to be a problem, I think. Okay, hang on. I want a little bit more orange in here. Right up here. And this is where I can get lost. So I'm going to try to watch myself. And this is where it's easy to get lost. Because you could sit here and you could just work on details on the head here for quite a while. And I don't know that you're going to get as much out of it because we don't need to work in these tiny, tiny little spaces. We got a whole bird to work on over here. But I wanted to get a little bit around that eye, and I think the head is starting to take shape. Paintings are tangible. Puffy Joe, I'm a daughter of an artist, and I cannot imagine doing it any other way. Fun stuff. I'm torn on it. I'm just showing my age. Yeah, I don't know how much of any of it is just showing your age. It's a tough thing to figure out, and I don't think we like all the digital stuff. We've never really thought about it as people were making these programs that would allow us to make artwork digitally, and we didn't know back in the 80s and 90s that any of this stuff would still be around, and so we didn't think about what art was at the time. It was just an interesting way to be creative. But I'm gonna, like I said, it's not necessarily for me. I want something that's more tangible, more there, but I'm gonna give them their credit, the digital artists. It is a lot of times hard to do, and they can still be very creative and do lots of things. That is way more intense than I wanted. We're just going to take that back a little bit, bleed that a long gradation right on through there. Who was asking me last week or 2 weeks ago about the gradients, my gradients? Somebody was asking me about that. I do a particular drill that helps me make fine gradients wherever I want them. And if anybody wants to steal my drill, you certainly may, but I will tell you it's quite frustrating to do. You've gotten some arguments about it. It's a touchy subject. It's a very touchy subject. It's one of those things that is personal to everybody, and you want, just like we all do, I think it's a natural thing, we want everybody to agree with us. And when they don't, when somebody doesn't agree with us, we don't understand it, and we take it personally that maybe we didn't explain it right, or they don't understand it right, or something like that. So I get it. Okay, so here's my drill. I'm not going to do it. I'll explain it to you. I will draw rectangles like this, and I'll start. Now my table is slanted, and I'll start and do a gradient with just like these, more color at the top and a gradient down to the bottom. Then I'll do the same thing, more color at the bottom and less at the top, so a gradient that way. Then I'll do a gradient this way on the side of the table, so stronger here and go that way. And I'll do it stronger here and go that way. And what you learn to do is use your brush going this way and use your brush going this way, along with this way and that way. And it really does force you to think about how you are doing your line work, and really can help improve with what you're doing. So if anybody wants to steal that or try that, feel free. It is a fun drill. I've got sheets and sheets and sheets of paper that I have used to do that with. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm trying to match a gray. I know I've mixed my own, but I'm matching a gray that's about this intensity. And I want to use this on the underside of the wing, and then I'm going to come back and make all of these individual feathers a bit darker than this. So I'm going to come down and something like that. Let me get another paper towel. Here it is. Sounds like good practice. I'll tell you what, it's good practice, but it's good hard practice. You think it would be easy, but what I found is I can use this brush, which holds a certain amount of water, and I can do it with this brush. And then I use this brush, which is twice the size. And this holds a different amount of water when you paint, and so you've got to do this one differently. So then this one is different than this one. And then you get this brush, and this brush doesn't hold nearly as much water as the other two, and so this brush paints differently than the other ones. And so you're constantly trying to figure out what your brush is, how much water's on your brush, how is it going to come off of the tip of the brush. Will I be able to do, this drill this way? I think I've got it that way. Can I do it that way? Is it going to work? And it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot more than I ever thought it was going to be when I started doing that. All right, I mixed up my own blue here, and what I'm gonna do is, let's see, I'm gonna try to see if I can't replicate these feathers. I don't need all of these individually at the moment, but if I leave a little bit of space on some of them, I think I'll end up getting what I want. I just want to get them all about the same length here. I've got actually more paint on there than I want. Okay, so there's my first row of feathers. These are this group of feathers right here. And now I'm going to jump over here. Let's see, and I'll go from roughly here. I don't want to do these ones right down below. Oops, let me turn it this way, because they're just going to run into each other, and I don't exactly want that. These have almost a straight line that come down to here. These are the tiniest little feathers. There we go. Those look like feathers. I don't want to touch them. I've got some nice whites. Well, they're not white, but I've got some nice bits where the color from the first layer is shining through, and I don't want to get that all the way off of there. I want to leave that there so that we have, like so that we have like this, what's that called? The backbone of the feather, the rib of the feather, right? We've got some of those over here, and the feathers over here start to change color a little bit, so I want to leave that. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to mix up just a little bit more here. I'm going to take this and come over here now, because this should be just about dry, and look to do the same thing with these feathers. And these ones come up to basically that line that we had there before that I painted over. I'll take the blame for it. Everybody's gone quiet. It's just me blathering away. You guys must have a few other questions. I can see the stream still looks okay to me. Or I got it. You're so enthralled with what I'm painting that you can't take your eyes off of it. Let's see. This goes roughly up to there. Let's see if I can do this. Drawing away. You're drawing instead of watching or painting along. Okay, so I've got a question for you. I've got a question for you guys then. You don't have questions for me. Is what I'm doing painting or is this sketching or drawing? And I have my answer, which I will be happy to share with you. But I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. And my answer is partially my answer, but Puffy Joe, I'm inspired tonight. All right. If you're inspired, keep drawing. I don't want to stop you. Sometimes when you get inspiration, you gotta go with it because you may not know when that's going to come back. And in today's world, we've got so much other stuff that pulls at us that you've got to go with your inspiration when it strikes you. There we go. I think I'm going to leave that about like that. LOL, I'm painting. I'm trying to paint. Sometimes I'm painting, sometimes I'm just playing around. Let's see, I want something a little stiffer. There we go. This guy here. I had that what still looks like a hard line in the video. It's not quite as hard as it used to be. I didn't want quite that hard of a line there. I think that's better. I'll pull my color down this way a little bit more. Maybe like that. And I think I need to get a little bit of orange in there. I need this color to go up a little bit more. I need to make a break between his neck and that wing in the back there. And I think I can do that and pull it off. Say that question again. So what am I doing here? Am I painting? Am I drawing? Or I guess you could say, am I sketching? And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to do this wing down here because it looks like those have dried just enough. I'm going to go back to my mop brush. There's one wing. I want a little bit more blue in there than I got. I'm trying to do this a little bit more loosely. I don't want to do this, quite as tight as some of the other stuff. I paint an ice cream sandwich. An ice cream sandwich is an ice cream sandwich. There's not a whole lot you can do with it. But a bird, you can do anything with, because even if the bird doesn't look exactly like the reference photo, where's my reference photo? If it doesn't look exactly like the reference photo, you know what? It's still going to look like a bird. So we can take a few liberties with it. See, this is going to go up here somehow, something like, I don't want to take up all of that white. Maybe I'll connect a little bit of it. That's not so bad. All right, he's kind of taking shape now, I think. He's starting to look good. Painting, maybe more of a drawing style if it's wet on wet. Okay, here's my answer if you want. I'll give you my answer. Just let me move. I've got a wet towel over here. Let me move it over and I've got a whole stack of these towels all around here. So I was told, and take this for what it's worth, I'm not the aficionado on this by any stretch, but painting is something that's done on canvas. So if you were to do a watercolor on canvas, it would be a painting. But because I'm, quote, painting, I'm working on paper, what I'm doing is sketching or drawing. And that's the basis of why people do, why they call it a lot of times urban sketching, right? Because you're not painting. You can do urban painting if you want. Those are the people who get out with the giant easels and sit on the side of the road with their paints, and it takes them, 16 hours to do a painting. But a sketch or a drawing is something that's always done on paper. And so we are, in essence, sketch artists. Yes, it's just a different type of argument. One that made quite a bit of sense to me after I thought about it for a while. It's not the act of what you're doing that determines what it is you're doing. It's the medium with which you do it that determines what you're doing. See, I need more red in this guy's bill. It looks a little flat to me, and I want to punch up some colors here. That's going to be too much, I can tell right away. Let's see, I'm trying not to put my hand in all of this, which is a little wet still. So I'm just going to put a little bit of red here and there. Maybe a little bit more there. I don't even need to make it perfect all the way down there. Wow, it's so funny. I look at the color here, and it's kind of one thing. And I look at the color up there on my monitor, and it's totally different. Oh, you doubt whether Steve Mitchell would agree with me. That's okay. I can live with that. The medium is paint, so I would think it goes by painting. Oh, I never thought of it that way. The medium is paint. So whatever you do with paint has to be a painting. I might be able to be convinced that way. Let's see, I'm going to paint his tail on here while I'm pondering that one. As for Steve Mitchell, I don't know Steve. I like Steve. He is quite knowledgeable. But I would be okay if Steve disagreed with me. That wouldn't bother me at all. Steve's a funny guy. Slow, though. Sometimes I haven't watched one of his videos in 6 months or 8 months, a long time, whatever it was. But I would turn it on, and you know, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. All of his instruction is very good. He's very talented. He went to art school, did all that stuff, and I'm like, holy cow, Steve, pick up the pace. What you're talking about, I can't. It's hard sometimes to see. I'm trying to get a little more depth in this. This wing looks to me like a big blob here, and I want to get a little extra depth in here somehow. I'm not exactly sure how to do this. I didn't exactly expect to have this problem. So I've got to figure out how to take care of it. I should just kind of step back for a second and say, not what does it look like, but what do I think I need in here to make it more right. And so I think what I can do, let me take a little bit of that off. I think what I need to do is, instead of making this color back here that I've just gone through a second time, and I shouldn't have done that. That one Steve would have a fit about. I think what I need to do is bring this color up, which will bring it closer, and with that being a bit bluer, to push that back. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to put another little bit of orange here. And the image, the reference image, the wing is really pale up here. And that's fine, but I don't think I can get away with that, given the way the rest of this painting has kind of gone along. But I have a sneaking suspicion that if I color this wing a little bit, that it will help to pull this, warm this part up. It'll help to pull this forward, cool that part down. It'll help to push that back a little bit. And that might be about all I need. I'm going to bring this down and around a little bit. And a little bit more of my orange. Well, I've gone from having a white Pellican. What am I painting? A white Pellican to having kind of an orange-ish Pellican. I'm kind of okay with that. It kind of still looks okay. I think that helped a little bit. This is so cold down here that in this painting I don't have enough in this area to really separate the two. So this kind of flattens out. I was hoping that this bit here, the shadow that we have in our reference photo, would help to lift this wing off the page, and it didn't do it quite as much as I had hoped. Is that the mind of what? Is Steve Mitchell the mind of watercolor guy? Yes, Steve Mitchell is the mind of watercolor. He loves detail like me. That's why he struggles painting loose. Steve can paint pretty loose paintings. I've seen him do some pretty loose stuff. don't think he has too much trouble with it. Okay, I'm going to do a cheat on the rest of this because it's so small and I don't want to get it too goofed up with the rest of the painting. I want it to look nice. I'm going to drop in a couple of lines around his eye and a little tiny bit of shading under there. Actually, that one is too, well, I was going to say it's a little too stark, but I think maybe it's not too stark. And you guys are probably a little too far away to see that eye. But I'm going to cheat again and put a little white spot on it. Let me do this real quick. I should have had it down here more like this to begin with. Anyways, there he is. That wing kind of comes off a little bit. What do you think? Should I put a quick background on it? I think I'm going to put a blue, real quick blue background on it. I don't want to do anything too drastic. But this one, I'm not loving the white. So I'm going to put, let me just get some cerulean here. Cerulean, a nice decent sky color. If you need to darken it down, a little Payne's Gray will darken that right down. And I'm going to start at the top is what I'm going to do. You've tried to watch him but struggled staying tuned in. That's the problem with him. He's a fantastic artist. I don't want to ever take anything away from him. He's great, and I've learned a bit from him myself. But every time I watch Steve, I'm just like, come on, bro, pick up the pace. But he's got to do it in his own way. He's probably been doing it the way he does it for, I don't know how long he's been painting, quite a while. He's got quite a resume. Steve would probably look at my stuff and go, oh, no. That's okay. And you can see this brush holds quite a bit of water in it. There we go. I just did that whole section. I don't even have that big of a pool of paint that I'm drawing from over there. And this soaked most of it up. Now this is the goofy part about putting backgrounds on. This is one thing I don't like about doing backgrounds. You need to try to keep a wet edge. So you need to be aware of where you're at on the painting. That's why I started at the top up here. Because if you don't, you're going to end up with tide lines inside your painting, and nobody likes that. Actually, I shouldn't say that. If you do a painting with all tide lines, no blended edges, you can really get some interesting, cool results. I can't do that. That is definitely not me. That's hard to do. All right. Oh, come on, get out of here. Here's my tide line right here. And where do we want to cut over? Somewhere. Let's see. I got about an in. I don't know. Right. Perfect. Right there. Then I can paint everything in here. It's a little easier with that dark color because if you touch it a little bit, you're still usually pretty okay. And then on over. I have to keep quiet because I'm trying to concentrate a little bit here. There's a line I need to adhere to. I forget who it was mentioned that to me. You know you don't say anything when you're trying to concentrate. We're getting there. Got something in my eyeball. Okay. Let's see, that's part of the wing. I almost painted that white spot in right there, but that's actually on our reference photo. So I don't want to do that. And I can't forget this little bit down here. I'll get a little bit more. Well, that's okay. I don't know that we gained a ton by doing that. But this guy definitely needed a little something to set him off of that white. You know me, I'm usually a fan of the white background, but even for me on this one, that white background was a bit too much. So there we go. Let's see. Oh, Cynthia G made it. I understand how you cannot talk while painting. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how I do it. I don't know that I do it. I don't know that I do it very well, actually. I'm going to sign this one. Let me zoom in so you can see it a little bit better here, but I'm going to call this one all but done. He doesn't look too bad, and I'm hoping that what's this called? Breaking the box here helps to bring this wing forward a little bit more. You know what? I'm just gonna kind of get that whole entire wing inside the box. Just a littlest tiniest brush. There we go. That might help make it look like this wing is more towards us. That one's further back. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with it. I always like to do a little bit of evaluation. I'm not sure. I kind of like this. I like this. And I'm okay with how do I explain this? I like the wateriness of this area, and under here, it doesn't at all look like feathers to me. There's some really fine lines you can see on the feathers here and here also. I don't know that I could ever do that amount of detail. That's not who I am, but I love the wateriness look of this up here. Overall, I think I'm pretty happy with it. I hope I did this guy a bit of justice. Fun stuff. Cynthia's G's fun stuff. So glad you're talking like me. I've sometimes stopped myself doing it. It's fine. It's a fine line of am I bugging him? Go ahead. I'll tell you fun stuff. If I think you're bugging me, I'll just tell you, hold on for a second. I got to do something, and then you can go back to doing what you got to do, because that's part of the fun, the enjoyment for me of doing these live streams is the interaction. So I love it when you guys talk and say stuff, and I sometimes feel bad because I get carried away here, and I can't look at the screen to see what you guys are asking in real time. So I kind of I kind of have to balance that a little bit, but I love the questions. So don't think that you're asking too many on my account, because the answer is going to be you're not. And I'm just going to, I can't take this. I can't do it. It's too bright, too white. I'm just dropping in a little bit of that orange color here to take that color up. Now I think that makes it look much better. Okay, so that's it. Again, I want to thank Fun Stuff for the coffee before the show. Helped out immensely. Thank you very much for that. I want to remind everybody, on my website, I try to update it weekly. I've got new stuff up there. I put some stuff up that I'd done earlier this week in the gallery. I'm active on Twitter and Instagram, so be sure to follow me there. I've got the coffee fund and the beer fund there on the home page of the website. The money goes to ordering more supplies, keeping the equipment up and running in here, keeping me going. Let's see, what else do we have that we can talk about? I've got some apparel. It's on the website. You can see that. I think that's all I've got for now. Thank you all for joining me. I had a great time here. I ran longer than I wanted to, almost an hour and a half, but thank you all for sticking around. Had a great time. We'll see you back here, same place, same time, next week. Until then, bye-bye.